Hello Sunshine Fam, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chloe, for those of you that are new. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me today on yet another episode of my Who Am I videos. Sorry about the background noise. We have a very large heat wave that is coming through our Twin Cities again. So it's very hot outside, so the air conditioner will be going on and off during this. Hopefully it's not drowning out the noise too much. But I know in my last video of this series I said that for now I was going to end it because I was at the bottom of the barrel. Well, in my very last video that I uploaded when C-Dawg and I were coming back from central Minnesota, I did tell you that I found out a little bit more information about both sides of my family. So to go deeper into this rabbit hole, trust me, I'm not done yet, but I'm going to be doing some more digging this weekend into my family tree. But I wanted to share with you some information I found out on both sides of my family. Now, I did go to Chaska. The reason I say it that way is because when I listened to, or when I viewed one of my last videos, when I said the word Chaska, the closed captions spelled it C-H-A-Z-K-A, and it's actually spelled C-H-A-S-A-S-K-A. So they got it wrong. So I'm trying to speak clearly so that the closed captions can get the spelling of the words correctly. I also noticed that when I say C-Dawg, they spell it S-E-A-D-O-G. It is actually spelled the letter C dash D-A-W-G. So I might have to put that on the video to get them to spell it correctly. The other thing that I had mentioned in my last video coming back from central Minnesota was that I was going to be making a video of how I've been feeling mentally lately. Well, I went back several videos ago to when I think it was the one I titled Breaking the Chains of My Silence. And basically everything I said in that video was something I was going to tell you again. There was only a little bit of information that I have written down that I was going to share that's different from what I said in that video. But I think I'm just going to leave it at what I said in that particular video, because it's kind of still how I feel. I feel like I'm being silenced. I feel like I'm not being heard. When I talk to people, they don't listen to me. I'm only supposed to be around for people when they need me, but they don't seem to care how I'm feeling. And I'm not trying to sound selfish in that respect. I'm not trying to get pity, but that's just kind of how I've been feeling, both in my personal life and my professional life. I feel like my words just don't matter, and the First Amendment does not apply to me. But hopefully with these videos, I am being heard by all of you that watch my videos. So let's get into my family history. So when I went down to Chaska, with an S, I went to the Chaska History Center, where some wonderful ladies were able to help me look up information about my 2 times and 3 times great-grandparents on my mother's side, which would be her father's parents and grandparents. So it would have been my mother's grandparents and great-grandparents and my 2 times and 3 times great-grandparents. Can you follow that logic? So it was interesting when I went in there and told them the names of the people I was looking for information about. Because one of the ladies said, "Did you happen to say the name Anna Wurtzthorn?" Was it Anna Wurtzthorn or... No. It wasn't Anna. Pretty sure it was Anna. Hold on a second. Anna Meschler. And I said, yes, she was my great-grandmother on my maternal grandfather's side. And she looked dumbfounded. And she said, "I'm related to an Anna Meschler." And we never really got into how she was related to Anna Meschler. But she said she knew Anna by a different last name that started with an S. I didn't write it down. But she said her children, Anna's children, had the last name of Meschler, which I found interesting because when I go into my notebook here, Anna was, this is kind of a little bit of a recap. Anna was married to my great-grandfather, Eugene Anton Bury. But if you recall, he passed away when he was 38 in 1913. And Anna didn't pass away until 1948. So I'm guessing that after Eugene passed away, she went on and married somebody else, and maybe that's how this woman is related to Anna Meschler. So I may have met a distant cousin of mine through Anna. Anna would be our connection. But we didn't really get into the details of how she was related to her. So I thought that was kind of cool. And of course, that was after I got all this information and I was getting ready to leave. So I didn't catch her name or anything, the lady, but she volunteers, works at the Chaska Historical Center. So, small world, right? So let's start with Eugene. I was able to find out his occupation. So Eugene was a cigar maker, and he owned his own store in Chaska. And in 1899, he sold the store to a gentleman by the name of Henry May. Now, I've tried to look up Henry May, but there's so many different Henry Mays out there. I don't think I found the right one. So I don't know anything about this Henry May, but he bought the store from my great-grandfather. And Anna Caroline Ada Meschler, her occupation was a laundress. So I thought, oh, so she owned a laundromat. Well, you have to remember, she was born in 1875 and died in 1948. So we gotta go back to those times. And the lady that was helping me, not the relative, but the lady that was helping me said no. What people would do back in those days was they would bring their laundry to somebody's house and have somebody else do their laundry for them for whatever reason. So that's what Anna did. So she would do other people's laundry in her house, and maybe that's how she brought in a little extra money. She didn't give me the dates of when Anna was a laundress. And some of the dates that I had were not exactly correct. I had Eugene being born, I crossed it out, so it's kind of hard to read here. Is this the one that was born in Pennsylvania, that I thought was born in Pennsylvania, I think? I think I have this as he was born in Pennsylvania, but he was actually born in Carver, Minnesota, which is Carver is actually a county, I think, Carver County in southwest Minneapolis. And Chaska is a city in the county of Carver. So maybe back then, back in 1875 when Eugene was born, Carver was actually a city and then they made it a county or something. I don't know. I didn't get into that. And Anna was born in Chaska. So she was a laundress, and they were married on May 25th of 1898. I had a different date on there. And I was able to add a few more children. I don't think I mentioned the children when I did this before. But I did find out how Eugene passed away, because this lady was kind enough to look up newspaper articles. They had the original newspapers in this great big massive, leather-bound binder or book. And she was able to pull up different articles on Eugene. And when I say articles, they were only about like that big, as like a paragraph in these papers. And so that was kind of cool to see these original papers. And they weren't as brittle as I thought that they would be. Because, if you think of the 1800s, even newspapers that you don't protect from even 20 years ago start to go yellow from their original paper. So I was surprised to see how well preserved they were. They weren't in any kind of plastic or anything. They were just in these binders. So maybe they have them. The lady had to go upstairs to get the binder. So maybe where they have them stored is a atmosphere protected area where it doesn't brittle the paper too much. I don't know. I wasn't allowed up there. So Eugene passed away of tuberculosis of the stomach on November 24th of 1913. And so I did not know that before. So I thought that was very interesting that I finally got that part of the story completed, came full circle. And when the lady looked that up and saw that it was tuberculosis of the stomach, she seemed kind of surprised, because she said, well, tuberculosis is usually of the lungs. But I did look up about tuberculosis of the stomach, and back in those days in the 1800s, or 1913, I guess it was, early 1900s, it was rare to have tuberculosis of the stomach, but it did happen. And they said, what I found out in my research is that tuberculosis of the stomach was caused by drinking bad milk. So maybe that's how he contracted this tuberculosis. Maybe he drank a bad glass of milk. I don't know. I didn't get that far into the information. So now we go back to Eugene's father and his parents, and it was interesting the information I found out about my 2 times great-grandfather. So I said 2 times and 3 times, but it was actually my great-grandfather and my 2 times great-grandparents. So Francois Anton Bury was born in 1850 and died in 1942 at the age of 92. So he had longevity. He was married to a woman named Anna Marie Wurtzhorn, who was born in 1851 and died in 1923 at the age of 71. Now, both of them were born in, I was pronouncing it incorrectly. The woman at the Historical Center corrected me. It's not Alsace, France, it's Alsace, France, Lorraine. Alsace, Lorraine, France. And he died in Chaska, and so did she. She also died in Chaska. I had that she died in Minneapolis, but she died in Chaska. So I found out his occupation, and before I get into that, Francois went by Frank. He went by Anton. So it seems like the Burry side of the family loves to change their names a lot. I'll get into that in a second with my grandfather and my uncles on my mom's side. So sometimes he went by Frank, sometimes he went by Anton. He spelled the way I looked it up is that his last name was spelled B-U-R-I rather than B-U-R-Y, which is how I was used to hearing it. But when he immigrated over to the United States from France, he immigrated in 1855. Now, the story that I've gotten from a few people is that when the Europeans immigrated to America, and they didn't speak a lot of English. I mean, especially if they came from foreign country. I mean, yeah, England is a foreign country too, but they speak English. But if they came from a foreign country that didn't speak English, and they said their name, the people that were checking them in here in America probably just spelled it the way that they thought it was spelled, the way that it was pronounced. Because if you're coming from France, you're not going to know how to spell your last name in English, and you're not going to understand what the person is trying to tell you. Maybe they had an interpreter, but think back to the 1800s. Maybe it wasn't like it is nowadays. So you got to think back to those times. So maybe when he said Burry, they just spelled it as B-U-R-I rather than B-U-R-Y, because if you think of how the spelling B-U-R-Y is to us in the English language, we pronounce it bury, as in bury the dead, which is how my grandmother would always say her name to people on the phone. But he was the only one that had his last name spelled with an I rather than a Y, which I found interesting. So the people at the Historical Center were able to look up his occupation, and he was a butcher. So after I got done at the Historical Center, I came home and did a little bit more research on my own, because I felt like I was taking up a lot of their time. Thankfully, they didn't charge me anything to get this information, which was really nice. Some places are not going to be like that. So I'm doing a lot of this information on my own to save me from having to pay for it. So I was also able to find out that the mayor of Chaska had appointed another gentleman as the chief of police, and he appointed my 2 times great-grandfather as a policeman. So I thought, how cool is that? He was a butcher and a cop. So I did a little bit more digging. So he immigrated, and I'll probably repeat this because I'm starting to rewrite everything down, and I'm taking away certain things that I have in this notebook and putting it into a different notebook. And like I might put the occupations back into this notebook, but I took away like the historical facts and stuff like that. But I've got more information, but I'm still working on that one because there's a lot of more information, which I'll share with you here. So when I looked up information about Francois on familysearch.org, which is where I get a lot of my information from. You might want to try that out if you want to delve into your family history, your genealogy. He immigrated on January 11th of 1855, and he came over on the ship called the Abbey Langdon, which departed okay, nowadays it's called Larve, but the way that it was in Family Search, it didn't have the LA in front of it. So I don't know if it's pronounced Harve, but it's spelled Havre. but they didn't have the LA in front of it. Nowadays we call it Larve, but it looks like Le Havre. But they didn't have the LA in front of it. So it departed Havre, I'm guessing that's right, Havre, port in France to come over to America. And I'm guessing Anna came with him. Maybe not, because they were married in 18... Oh yeah, she could have come over with... No, because they got married in 1874. So I'm not sure where when she immigrated over here. She may have come with them maybe they were dating. I don't know. I don't know how things worked back then as far as like dating and stuff. I don't have her occupation, but I did find out where they are buried. They are buried in the Guardian Angel Cemetery in Chaska. And so after I finished up at the historical center there, I asked the ladies where the cemetery was, and I went there, and it's not a super large cemetery, but it's big enough, and it was pretty hot that day too. And I literally walked the entire cemetery looking at every single name that I could find. Could not find any relatives of mine at this cemetery, even though I have them, you know, Francois and Anna Marie, buried at Guardian Angel Cemetery. So I might do a little bit more digging on that under Find a Grave online. I think I found the cemetery that she's buried at through FamilySearch.org. But I did find, I think I found Eugene. I think it was Eugene. When I looked him up, may have been somebody else, I don't remember. Because there were some Meschlers that were supposed to be buried out at Guardian Angel Cemetery. I couldn't find their name out there either. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to go to the church to find out exactly where they're buried in this cemetery. Now, there were some grandparents that go back. Let's see, who was this? Give me just a second. There's another cemetery in Chaska called Moravian Cemetery, Moravian Cemetery in Chaska. I did not go to that cemetery. My 3 times great-grandfather is buried there, possibly his wife, but I don't have her down being buried there because I kind of stopped after a while and then I started up again. So Carl Traugath, Traugath, Senior, 3 times great-grandparents, and he sometimes went by Charles rather than Carl, Karl. And his wife's name was Frederica Christina Blitz. And this goes back to the early 1800s for their birth years. So, and then I've got a Louis Bernard Meschler. He was born in Pennsylvania, but I don't know where, so I still have to do some digging on that. And he was also buried at Guardian Angel Cemetery. I want to say Eugene was the one when I went to re-look people up, and it had a picture of his headstone. And it's quite a tall one, too. So the way that the headstone looked in the picture, the writing is very, very light on it. It's hard to read it because it's a tall white pillar looking headstone. And I remember seeing a couple of those out there, but I didn't walk all the way around him. And I think when I looked at him, maybe I couldn't see the name or something. So that could have been his. I don't know. But it was quite interesting to see. But I did find, when I was out there, I did find some relative, or some people's names with the last name of B-U-R-Y, Bury. But when I looked them up, the names didn't sound familiar to me, so they could be like a distant cousin. There is another Burry family that's not related to me, so it could be from that Burry family. And two headstones were kind of kitty corner from each other, like a couple rows apart from each other. And I'm thinking one was the parents of the other, but both of them were in the military. So I'm not sure if they are a relation or not. But those were the only Burries I could find out there, and I couldn't find any Meschlers at all. So that was quite interesting. So now I decided to buy a really thick notebook and started doing some digging. After C-Dawg, C-Dawg, and I came back from central Minnesota. So if you remember, as far back as I could go on my paternal side, I was able to go back to my 7 times great-grandparents with the last name of Mayer. Now I would have to go back down the tree quite a ways, I think. Let's see, where did the Mayers start? It's Keppers. I think the Mayers went back to, so if we go back, we come back down the tree, and we go back to my 3 times great-grandparents on the Keppers, which would be my paternal grandmother's side. So Adam Keppers, as another reminder to you, his brothers were the ones that founded the town of Avon. His wife's name that I'm related to was Nothburga Netkarka Spitznagel. What a name. So her parents would be Spitznagel, correct? So 4 times great-grandparents. Her parents' names were Adam and another Nothburga. And Nothburga's maiden name was Rieger, R-I-E-G-E-R. And from Adam, his parents, my 5 times great-grandparents, were Johannes Spitznagel, and his wife's name was Sophia Mayer, M-A-Y-E-R. And the reason I'm spelling it that way is because it gets a little confusing the further up the tree I go. So now we're climbing back up the tree. So she was born in 1767 in Baden, Germany. Her parents, now we're getting back into 6 times great-grandparents. This is a little bit of a recap from my other one, my other video. My 6 times great-grandparents on the Mayer side were Joseph and Maria Greiser, G-R-I-E-S-S-E-R. Now, Joseph was born in 1721 in Baden, Germany. Then we go to his parents. So this was, at the time when I did these before, this was the top of the tree on my paternal side. 7 times great-grandparents on the Mayer, Joseph and Katharina. And Katharina's maiden name was Rauch, R-A-U-C-H. Joseph was born in 1678, which I thought was really kind of cool because now we're going way back to the 1600s in Baden, Germany. So I was able to go back even further on this, and I was freaking out. So 7 times great-grandparents were still spelling their last name, M-A-Y-E-R. Then we get into Joseph's parents. So now we're going back to my 8 times great-grandparents. So this is new information. And they spell their last name M-E-Y-E-R, which I found interesting. Why did they change the last name spelling? His name was Andreas Mayer, born in 1652 in Baden, Germany. And he died in 1729 at the age of 76, also in Baden. His wife's name was Verena, Verena. I'm probably going to butcher this last name. Scheuble, Scheu with an umlaut, BL. I don't have any information about her, when she was born or died, or where. I don't know where she's buried. I don't know where he's buried. They were married on May 13th of 1670 in Baden, Germany. Now, in this book, I'm writing down children's names. So they had 8 children from 1671 to 1684. Doesn't look like any multiples. No, none of them were born the same year. So going back from Andreas, I was able to go further down this rabbit hole to my 9 times great-grandparents, still spelled M-E-Y-E-R. His name was Thomas, born in 1625, and he is buried in Griesenwaldshut, Baden, Germany. His wife's name was Maria Müller, M-U with an umlaut, L-L-E-R. Now you're wondering, what is an umlaut? For those of you that don't know, in the German language, an umlaut is like 2 dots over the letter. So when I write this out, the U kind of looks like a smiley face. They were married in 1649 in Baden, Germany. And they had 5 children from 1650 to 1656. Now, 2 of the children were born the same year, but they were not, I don't know if that may have been twins, because one could have been born in January and the other one could have been born in December, because that happened with my kid's father and his sister. My children's father was born in January of 1960, and his sister was born in December of 1960. So they're literally 11 months apart. So that could have been the case here. Or they could have been twins. Because Andreas was born in 1652 and died in 1729. So he lived quite a while. And Verena was also born in 1652, but died in 1715. So it's not like Andreas died as a baby and then they had another child the same year. Unlike the next one. So now we're at the top of the tree at this point. To the parents, again, Mayer, so Thomas's parents, but this time they spell it M-A-Y-E-R. That's all the information I have on this one. I don't have the father's first name, the wife's first name, when they were born, when they died, where they're buried, when they were married. But this gets crazy. Can you see that? All those names on the bottom? Those are their children. They're 27 children. Now, I'm really wondering if this could be wrong, because the first 7 children, according to Family Search, were all born in the year 1620. And none of them died in the year 1620. So, back then, did people have septuplets? I don't know. It's possible, I suppose. 2 of them died the same year of 1669. So the first 7 kids were born in 1620. Then 1 was born in 1621. 2 of them were born in 1622. 1 was born in 1623. 2 were born in 1625. 1 was born in 1628. 4 were born in 1630. One was born in 1634. One was born in 1638. Three were born in 1640. One was born in 1644, and the last three didn't have dates on them. Now, what I find interesting is a lot of these children, if this is correct, were all alive at the same time, but they all had the same name. Jacob was a very popular name in this family. So I've got, for Jacob, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 kids all named Jacob, all alive at the same time. So again, I don't know how much truth there is with these children. If the dates are right, if the names are right, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce this name. I want to say Johannes, but there's no H in it. It's Joannes. There's quite a few of those kids in here too. So we've got, of that name, we have 1, 2, 3 kids with that name. And the last 2 on the list were both named Michael, but I don't have dates for them. And there was a Michael earlier, born in 1620. So we had 3 kids all named Michael. There were a couple Matthiases, I think, too. Or was there just one? Maybe just one. Heinrich. Yeah, we have a couple of Heinrichs. But there are so many names on this list, I can't keep them straight. How did they? So I don't know how much truth there is with these kids. But that's where I met a roadblock. So I thought, okay, so when would the parents have been born? Because I don't have any of that information. I just have a last name. So if these dates are correct, and the first child was born in 1620, or the first 7 kids were born in 1620, granted, they probably could have had kids young in those days. So that would mean that the parents were born either in the early 1600s or the late 1500s. So let me tell you, folks, I am not done going down this rabbit hole. But I just wanted to catch you up on some of this information that I found out, which is getting crazy, as you can see. So this, of course, is going to be a shorter video. But I'm not done. I'm going to continue falling down this rabbit hole. So that's what I'm going to be doing a lot this weekend while I'm off of work. So another video that I want to put out, probably tomorrow, is I was going back through the list of my videos. And back in 2019, I made a video on July 12th, which is, for today, it's tomorrow, because today is July 11th. And I called the video YouTubers I follow and shoutouts, or shoutouts and YouTubers I follow, something like that. And I want to remake that video as an updated video. So I want to make it exactly to the day of 2019. So I will make that video tomorrow and name it probably Shoutouts and YouTubers I Follow Part 2 or something like that. So I'm not going to call out all the names of the people that are my subscribers, part of my Sunshine Fam, but I will take several names. I know recently I have been doing shout-outs a little bit more, but I'll use some of the names that I haven't called out for a while. I do have a couple new people that are subscribers, so I will add your name in there as well, so watch for that tomorrow. And then I have changed the people that I follow on YouTube. I'm not subscribed to all of them, but I do watch many of their videos. So I will add those people to the list, or those channels to my list, and tell you what those videos are all about, and make that one tomorrow. So it's an exact date, only a few years later. So I wanted to kind of do that too. I also have an idea where I do a video that's another Q&A video, but I want it to be reversed. So I am going to think of questions that I want to ask all of you that watch my video, or videos, in hopes that I will finally start getting some responses. Now, again, I know in one of my last videos I said, perhaps those of you that are watching my videos are not on YouTube with a channel name, so you cannot comment on my videos, which is a good possibility. But I know there's several of you out there that probably watch me that do have YouTube channels, and sadly, I don't think there's any one of you on my Sunshine fam that I really follow, but I plan to rectify that. So I will look you guys up and find out what kind of content that you guys have and start following you. And then I can comment on your videos as well. Maybe that's another reason why you guys don't comment on my videos, because I don't comment on yours, because I don't really watch you. But I will look you guys up for the people that whose names I actually have on my piece of paper. Because when I go into my YouTube channel, it says I have 320 subscribers, but it doesn't give me the full list of all 320 of you. It gives me the most recent ones, but I don't know how far back that goes. So I have several, I want to say like 50 to maybe 75 people that I have access to your names. And of course, some people aren't on that list, but I know that you've subscribed to me in the past, and I started writing down names on a piece of paper. So I can maybe add those people to my list as well for shout outs for tomorrow's video as well. But what I want to do is I want to ask you guys questions in hopes that I'll get a response from you. So, and it's not going to be generally, it's not going to be specific to one person or another person. I'm just going to ask as if I'm sitting in front of all of you as a group and ask specific questions like, tell me where you're from. Tell me some interesting information, about where you live. Tell me interesting facts about where you live. Is there a history to the city you live in, the state you live in, the country you live in? Because I think we would all like to explore stuff like that. I think that'd be a really cool idea. Maybe ask specific questions. Are you married? Have you been married? Do you have children? If you're comfortable answering those questions. If you're not, you don't have to answer those questions. But I know I've done Q&A sessions before, videos, where I've had people ask me questions and then I answer them about myself or about things that they're interested in. But when I go to my Facebook page and request that again, I don't get any response. Again, I'm not being heard. So, I don't know. So I'm thinking of reversing it. So asking you guys questions in hopes that you guys will respond back to me, as long as you're able to, if you can comment on my videos. So I think that'd be a cool idea. But if you don't feel comfortable answering them, you can just comment and say, well, I don't feel comfortable answering your questions or whatever. But please comment below and tell me if you think that's a really good idea. Otherwise, I'll scrap the whole thing. But tell me if you think that's a good idea. I know some people want to stay private, so maybe I'll just make them generalized. Where, what city do you live in? What state do you live in? What country do you live in? Can you tell me interesting facts about where you live? Not specific to your personal life, but about the area you live in. Maybe give information, maybe I'll try to get information about what kind of things you guys like to do. I'll outside of work or whatever? Do you go to school? That kind of thing. What are you studying? And that kind of thing. I'll think of questions that aren't geared toward personal information. You know, I'm not asking, like, if I say, where do you live? I'm not asking for a specific address, obviously. But, you know, city, state, country, whatever. Because I know I've got people outside the country that watch me. From Germany, actually. But I don't speak much German. So, and for one of my people that is not subscribed to me, but he said that he would watch my videos. Hopefully you'll watch this one, because I'm going to make sure that you watch it. I'm going to say this to you. Beady beady bum bum. You'll know who you are. So, anyway, somebody I work with. Whatever. He's a really cool guy. So, don't get any ideas, you guys. He's married. I don't do that. So, anyway, won't call you out, but, or baila esta cumbia. I know he's laughing right now if he's watching this. All right, so hope you guys have a sunny day. Thank you for joining me today for an updated version of Who Am I? And I'm going to keep going down this rabbit hole so I can give you guys some more information. It's not all going to be this weekend, I'm sure, because finding all this information out has been mind-boggling. So maybe in my next video, I will tell you about a plan that I do on my days off, which I started up doing again, that maybe you can incorporate into your lives. But I won't add that to this one because I've already taken away from what this video is really all about. So try to stay cool over the next few days. A good rule of thumb on hot days like this, get a large bottle of water and at night put it in your freezer and freeze it overnight. And that way when you take it out in the morning, run a little bit of hot water on it for a few minutes to kind of get the melting started. And then if you're going to be out and about in the hot weather, you have cold water for a while. That's a really good idea. That's what I do for my job at work, because it does get really warm at my job when I'm working 8 hours a day. And so that's what I do with my bottle of water is I freeze it overnight and then I have cold water for most of the day. Because the ice eventually melts, obviously, but the ice stays in there for a while. So, just a thought. Especially if you work outside in these hot days. It's supposed to get up to 90s again this next week here in the Twin Cities. So, just an idea for you. So, thank you for joining me today on another Who Am I video. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a sunny day.